Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
So we are all set to go?
Yes, sir. Just we start. I will start. Participants are ready. All professors and research scholars. Shall we go to start? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So, good morning to all professors, all research scholars. Good morning, Ora, sir.
Good morning.
I welcome to the Ora, sir, for welcome, sir, for 1 week online faculty development program on electric vehicles, organized and conducted by Mechanical Engineering Department, Veer Mata Jijabai Technological Institute, Mumbai, and sponsored by AICT Atal. Today, we have with Dr. Kamal Ora, sir. Presently, Dr. KC Ora, sir, is a Senior Deputy Director and Head of AR/AI Academy, Pune. Sir, also the Chairman of Automotive Skill Development Council India Expert Group on Electric Vehicle and Chairman of Baha SE India 2020. Welcome, Ora, sir, for this session. We start
Thank
with
you,
this session with the brief introduction to Dr. KC Ora, sir. And I'm also very happy to inform all of you that Dr. Kamal Kishore Ora, sir, as alumnus of VJTI Mumbai. Dr. Kamal Kishore Ora, sir, has done his bachelor's in mechanical engineering from BVM Vallabh Vidyanagar, master's in automobile engineering from VJTI Mumbai, and PhD from IIT Bombay. He has a vast industrial and academic experience of 35 years and has been associated with Walchand Nagar Industries, Emitic Emission
Hello?
Controls.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello, Ora, sir?
Emitic Emission Controls, Mahindra and Mahindra, and ARI.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm in a meeting.
He has specialized in the field of education and technology development, soft skill, engine and emission controls, and electric mobility. He is an instrument in starting AR/AI Academy, which conducts BTech, MTech, and PhD courses in automotive engineering in collaboration with various universities. Presently, Dr. Ora, sir, is Senior Deputy Director and Head AR/AI Academy. He is the recipient of the Best Learning Center Award 2011 for AR/AI Academy and Knowledge Center from the Indian Society for Training and Development at Pune. In 2014, he received Guru Award from SAE India Foundation at New Delhi for his contributions to the students of the India. He has also received Quality Excellence Award for Teaching and Learning Practices in February 2016 and Lifetime Achievement Award by the Open International University Sri Lanka in September 2016. He was the Secretary and Vice President of the Society of Automotive Engineers, SAE India, and conduct series of conferences, seminars, workshop, courses, and various students' activity like AWIM and Baha SAE India. He is now the Managing Committee member of SAE India, member of SAE International Engineering Meeting Board in USA, member of Congress Board of FISITA in UK, and SAE India of Highway Board. He was the convener of SIAT 2015 and also technical chair of SIAT 2017, FISITA 2018, and SIAT 2019. Recently, he is nominated as a chairman of Automotive Skill Development Council India Expert Group on Electric Vehicles and has taken up a big task of electric vehicle awareness across the country. Dr. Ora, sir, has 2 patents, 3 books, 2 reports, 32 international papers, and 65 national papers to his credit. Good morning, sir. Such a distinguished, eminent speaker we got for this course. We are lucky, sir, for that we are getting the knowledge of various fields. I am welcome to you for sharing the knowledge of electric vehicles to us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Vijay sir, and good morning to all of you.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Many of people are known here. It's nice to know. So today I am going to speak on electric mobility scenario, standards, and skill development. I would just share my presentation and then take it forward. Just give me a minute. Are you able to see my screen? Are you able to see my screen, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay, so let me make it full screen and hide this. So now are you able to see the full screen?
Yes, sir. Full screen is there.
Okay, so then I would start my presentation. I am going to speak on electric mobility scenarios, standards, and skill development. I am not going to talk much technical deep into the electric vehicle because there are many other speakers who are going to talk on electric vehicle and its various components. I'm just going to talk about what is the scenario, what are the various standards which ARI use to test and certify electric vehicles, and what we need to do in the area of skill development, since most of you are professors. Correct, sir? All of them are professors? Vijay, sir, are all of them professors? So
Yes, sir.
faculty?
Yes, sir. All of our professors from mechanical mostly field and the research scholar in MTech and PhD.
Very good, very good.
Yes, sir.
So the face of mobility has changed completely. Electric vehicles are no more abnormal thing. They have become the new normal. And you would find electric two-wheelers and electric cars moving around you. Slowly, steadily, this number is going to increase and multiply. Today, the penetration of electric vehicle in India is 0.1%. It may go up to 1% by the end of this year. But our expectation is by 2030, it must be 30%. That means 30% of the vehicle which are sold in the market must be electric vehicle. Forget about the total population. We have 250 million vehicles running on road. So it will take another 20-30 years to have more population of electric vehicles in India. Also, don't worry about IC engine. IC engines would continue because by 2050, also we will be able to produce only 50% of the electric vehicle. Remaining 50% would still continue to be IC engine. So much is the scope of diversity, and everything can survive. In India, we all learn to live with coexistence. People with different religion, people with different language, and similarly, different fuels. So whether it is CNG, LPG, electric vehicle, petrol, diesel, all will coexist in India. And that is what India is known for, its diversity. So I'm sorry that some of my slides are cut and pasted from other slides, and hence you'll find some of the slides are very small. When we talk about well-to-wheel analysis, that means from where the electricity is generated or from where the fuel is produced from crude petroleum till it is used in the vehicle, till it reaches the wheel, is what we call it as well-to-wheel. That means it's a combination of well-to-tank and tank-to-wheel, or well-to-battery and battery-to-wheel. So if you look at the transmission of electricity from where it is generated, power plant, to your plug, the switch from where you charge your vehicle, then that transmission is very poor. It is just 30%. But the electric vehicle is very efficient. It is as high as 80%. Because the motor is efficient, the electric motor is efficient. Whereas the other way, if you see the generation of petroleum products like petrol and diesel from crude petroleum at the refineries, and it's getting transported through the tanker and then reaching the petrol pump, it is quite efficient, around 83% efficient. But the IC engine itself is not efficient. The IC engine thermal efficiency may be 20%, 30%, or 40%. So if you combine both the inefficient electric generation and transportation and efficient electric high efficiency of electric vehicle, and similarly efficient way of transporting fuel and inefficient IC engine vehicle, both of them come to same thing. The average would be around 20 to 25%. Now, depending on whose side you want to take, you can always prove that IC engine is better than electric vehicle or electric vehicle is better than IC engine. In this example, it shows that electric vehicle from well to wheel is 24% efficient, and IC engine from well to wheel is around 16% efficient. Worldwide, there is a requirement to improve the thermal efficiency of IC engine. Me being an IC engine and emission person, IC engine thermal efficiency can be as high as 40%, 45%, and now people are working to make it 50%. So it's very difficult to say which is better from well to wheel. So in a gasoline engine, we produce a lot of carbon dioxide and oxides of nitrogen, hydrocarbon, and carbon monoxide. In a diesel engine, we have additional particulate matter. And in a gasoline engine, we can use a three-way catalytic converter to control CO, HC, and NOx. Whereas in a diesel engine, we can only control CO and HC. NOx and PM needs to be controlled by other means. For example, for control of NOx, we require EGR or we require SCR, selective catalyst reduction. Whereas for control of particulate matter, we require diesel particulate filter. So if you take a typical gasoline vehicle, the particulate matter will be negligible. Even gasoline vehicle emits particulate matter, but the CO2 emission and NOx emissions are higher. Now, when you shift to electric vehicles, sir, are you able to see my slides?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so slides are changing, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fine. Fine. So now if you look at the electric vehicle, the carbon dioxide emission would drastically go down by around say 30%. The NOx also would go down. The NOx is almost negligible and particulate matter will go down. Now you would say, if I'm using an electric vehicle, why will there be NOx? So this is again well to wheel. So somewhere else carbon dioxide and NOx are formed where the electricity is generated, and hence it is well to wheel. But now if you charge your electric vehicle using wind energy and solar energy, then there is no CO2, there is no NOx, there is no particulate matter. There is no emission at all. So we all have to work towards EV charge through renewables, whether you use tidal energy, whether you use solar energy, or whether you use wind energy. And that is what says that electric vehicles will be zero emission, even if you consider from well to wheel, because we are going to use renewables. So our Indian government is working very strong in use of wind power and solar power in the coming years. Looking at electric vehicles are not very old. the first electric vehicle came in 1834 when Thomas Parker worked on the first electric vehicle. Thereafter, lot of efforts have been taken to produce electric vehicles, and initially in Paris and New York electric vehicles ran, and later on Detroit Electric took an initiative to mass produce electric vehicles. However, when Henry Ford started producing mass produced IC engine vehicles, electric vehicles started disappearing. And by 1935, the electric vehicles disappeared. One of the reasons was battery and its charging and its range. However, somewhere in 1970, the new emission norms came in and catalytic converters were invented. But in 1990, the California Air Resources Board in USA introduced the Clean Air Act and zero emission. So Clean Air Act was introduced in 1970 and the zero emission mandate was introduced in 1990. It is in 1990 that there was a need to develop electric vehicles for California. And that's how electric vehicle came into picture. And then there were many companies who came forward to develop electric vehicles. So we in India had Mahindra has Reva Electric, which were producing Reva electric vehicle before 20 years. And that is a time when ARI also took decision to work on standardization of electric vehicles. So ARI has been working on standardization of electric vehicles from last 22 years. I will be talking about it when I talk about standards. So this is one reason why electric vehicles have a comeback because of zero emission mandate by California Air Resources Board. The second reason is the oil crisis. And every time there is an increase in oil prices, countries who do not produce crude petroleum like India, USA, Europe, start thinking and rethinking what are the various options. So before a few years, when the crisis came, we started working on CNG, LPG, ethanol, methanol, and now we are also talking about biodiesel. Similarly, in the US government also decided to work on hydrogen and other alternate fuels. However, electric vehicle was found to be the best solution, and Japanese companies came forward to develop electric. So Honda, Toyota, they all produce electric vehicles. Electric vehicles were produced in Europe also and were widely used. So let us see how the return of electric vehicles has happened in the international market and what are the reasons of return of electric vehicles. Besides the crude petroleum fluctuation prices and besides the California Air Resources Board zero emission mandate, there are other problems in the 21st century which we must understand. We will understand them from four aspects: the economics, the society, the environment, and the policies. So we talked about the economics, about the rising oil prices, the resource scarcity, and then petrol and diesel prices going above 100 rupees per liter. Today, the cost of fuel in India is very high compared to our neighbors, and there is a chance that very soon it will cross 100 rupees per liter, and hence we need to work on other areas. Moreover, more and more people are shifting to cities, and it is said by 2050, 50% of the Indian population will be shifted to cities. So we need to develop more cities. So today we have 4 metros and major 50 cities. And this city's population, human population is increasing. More and more people are shifting to cities, because of which the vehicle population is also increasing. And then there are profit related to traffic, problems related to traffic and emission and noise. And hence we need to take care of our environment, especially in the cities. And we must reduce the traffic. We must widen the city areas. We must develop some more new cities. For example, between Ahmedabad and Mumbai, new cities are being developed on the expressway. We also need to understand that carbon dioxide emission needs to be drastically reduced so that the global warming will stop. And so we need to respect what is happening in terms of climate change and start becoming more conscious in terms of emission. That's why our government has introduced BS6 emission norms in April 2020. And in spite of pandemic, we have been able to successfully implement them. So CO2 emissions have to be reduced. We have a Kyoto protocol where we have committed. There are international politics and policies which we need to follow, and there are emission standards which we need to follow. We are closely following up European norms as far as emission is concerned. So there is a need of a social change, there is a resource depletion, and there is an urbanization characterization for the future of mobility. And Indian government has understood this and come out with policies related to electric vehicle. So quickly look at the global sale of electric vehicles. Today in Norway, 56% of the vehicles sold are electric vehicle in 2009. By now it will be 60%. And then there are other countries also. You will see that India is nowhere in the radar. So China, USA and Norway, these are the three countries who make a lot of electric vehicles. USA because we have Tesla there, China because we have a lot of companies who produce small electric vehicles, and Norway is very seriously thinking of converting everything into 100% electric vehicle. We sold only 3,600 electric cars in 2018-19 against 3.6 million cars sold world in India. So we are just 0.1% electric vehicle penetration in India. And it is expected, if you see the graph at the bottom right, you will see on the fourth column, we have India, and it says that by 2030, India will have 8% of the electric vehicle penetration. By 2040, this will become 38%, and by if we are optimistic, then it will be 60%. Niti Aayog, the think tank of India, wants to make it 30% by 2030. So we had on 9th January 2013, National Electric Mobility Mission Plan 2020 launched by the then Prime Minister. And then we had a lot of policies related to EV. We had FAME 1 in 2015 and FAME 2 later on. And today FAME 2 is prevalent in India. What is FAME 2, which we will see in subsequent slide. But FAME is faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicle in India. This is a scheme which is adopted through Niti Aayog. Intense incentives. Niti Aayog is our think tank, and Niti Aayog is a planning commission who is thinking very good points about India, especially the technical points, the technology. So under FAME, there are 4 focus areas: technology development, demand creation, pilot projects, and charging infrastructure. So through Ministry of Heavy Industry and Public Enterprise, ARAI has been asked to do a strong public awareness about electric vehicle in India. And we have been giving free lectures in various engineering colleges. So if any one of you want us to give lectures in EV, we can do a half-a-day training program for you all. And we can also conduct a poster presentation and an essay competition on EV for your students. Also, Energy Efficiency Services Limited, EESL, has floated tenders for 4-wheelers, and Mahindra and Tata had produced more than 10,000 vehicles and given it to EESL. The first generation public EV charger standards are also set, and now government has put a lot of money under FAME to ensure that a lot of charging station comes across major cities of India. So Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai have already started getting electric vehicle charging stations. Pune has also now started getting. It is only because of pandemic they were not able to do it, but now charging stations are being deployed in full scale in various cities, at least 50 major cities. And by end of 2021, you will see a lot of charging stations around. Not only government, the electric vehicle manufacturing company is also working on this. And companies like Ather Energy, who manufactures electric vehicle, don't mind allowing other vehicles also to use the charging station, which they have deployed in various cities like Ahmedabad, Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, and so on. Also, there is a very good growth of electric vehicle in shared mobility sector. So companies like Ola and Uber are also giving support to electric mobility. Mahindra has come out with their own EV, shared EV called Glide. And then there are many other companies also who has come forward. Okay. So it is anticipated by Niti Aayog that by 2030, if our penetration is 30%, then we can save 64% of our energy demand and 30%, 37% saving in carbon emission. And you can just Google this document, India Leaps Ahead Transformative Mobility Solution for All. And FAME 1 was based on the cost of the vehicle and around 15% of the cost of the vehicle. FAME 2 is based on the power of the electric motor, the wattage of the electric vehicle. This has been implemented for the next 3 years starting from 1st April 2019. So this will continue till 1st April 2022. And we all must take advantage of this subsidy. For example, I had purchased Ather Energy's electric scooter and I got a subsidy of 29,000 rupees. So these are the incentives which government is going to pay to the consumer who decide to buy electric vehicle. And then, as I told you, around 1,000 crores of rupees are kept aside for the charging infrastructure and also a lot of administrative expenditures like publicity activities and all those things. So government is ready to spend around 10,000 crores of rupees on FAME 2. So these are the demand incentives and details and distribution. So a lot of startups have come up and there is general awareness of electric vehicle in India. In two-wheeler itself, there are a series of startups like Ather Energy, Torque Motor, Revolt Intellicorp, Influx Motor, Ultraviolet Automotive, and Kabira Mobility in Goa. So these are the companies which have really mushroomed up very fast and are capturing the EV two-wheeler scenario in India. And their prices are all ranging from 1 lakh to 1.5 lakh rupees. So there are many startups who have started working in this area, whether it is related to EV kit for retrofitment or whether it is related to swapping of batteries. A lot of people have started working this way. All of you know that electric vehicles are of different types. It can be fully electric vehicle using only battery. So a battery electric vehicle which is then charged regularly, or a hybrid electric vehicle which need not be charged, or it can be a plug-in charge. And then there could be a fuel cell electric vehicle in future, which also needs to be charged. So these are the various types of electric vehicle, and countries like Sri Lanka uses hybrid electric vehicle and countries like India uses pure electric vehicle. But there are manufacturers in India who are ready to sell hybrid vehicles also. So basically a battery electric vehicle will have a battery, a controller, an inverter which will convert DC into AC and give it to the motor, and the motor will give the drive to the gearbox and the wheel. So this is a battery electric vehicle or battery operated vehicle, BEV or BOV. And it was up till now the lack of battery technology which was not able to give a kickstart. But with better battery technology, we can have more and more people getting into this business. So you will see that this is an pure electric vehicle, and what we need is the battery management system, the inverter, the traction motor, the traction battery. So if for any electric vehicle, the 4 pillars of the electric vehicle is the electric machine or the motor, the electric storage system like batteries, power electronics and control, and energy management system, that is electric drivetrain system integration. So these are the four pillars of electric vehicle or the four systems of electric vehicle, and we all have to concentrate on this to take it forward. So hybrid vehicle is another area which we need to work on and shift from electric vehicle to hybrid vehicle. Right now we have micro hybrid where you wait at the signal and your engine shuts off, and when you press your feet on the accelerator, the engine will start off its own. So this is called micro hybrid. That is an automatic engine stop and go mechanism. Like that, slowly, we can add some more other areas also. So electric motors requires a load on one side and the power modulator and controller and DC voltage source on the other side. As far as the batteries are concerned, you all know the lithium-ion batteries were invented by the Nobel Prize winner, Professor John Goodenough. And Professor John Goodenough have extensively worked on battery and battery material. However, the first battery was invented in 1800, and there were museums where batteries were displayed for the very, very long time ago. So what is the role of ARAI, and what do ARAI do for electric vehicle is what I'm going to talk in the subsequent slides. I have just total 60 slides, out of which I completed 50%. Now I'm going to talk about the electric vehicle standards. What are the various norms and standards? And then I will talk about skill development. So I'll just take a break for 2 minutes and come back. So if anybody wants to take a break for 2 minutes, please feel free to take it, and I'll come back in 2 minutes.
Sir, I have sent to all professors.
Okay, I am back. Sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Please.
And everybody has come back?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, fine. So I would now talk about the role of ARAI and standards on electric vehicle. Any vehicle which runs on Indian road needs to be certified by a test agency. ARAI is one such test agency. More than 75% of the vehicles are tested and certified by us. Any new model, whether it is made in India or whether it is imported from outside, needs to be certified as far as it is running on road. Vehicles which are not running on roads, like Baha vehicle, which are running in a confined area, or some vehicles which are running within the campus, need not be certified. But if it is running on Indian road, it has to be certified. So ARAI prepares various standards in association with benchmark of standards worldwide. So what are the standards in Japan? What are the standards in Europe? What are the standards in USA? Are all checked. And then based on that, we indigenize our standards. And when we indigenize our standard, we have a committee where people from component manufacturer, vehicle manufacturers, and all those who are directly, indirectly affected would join those meetings, and very democratically, we will formulate standards for testing and also norms for what should be the limit. ARI also does a lot of work in research and development, and ARI also does a lot of work in skill development. So ARI has R&D organizations where research work is done. We have a technology group who works on electric vehicle development, autonomous vehicle, connected vehicle. We have a testing, certification, and homologation group who test and certify engines and vehicles and their components. From emission point of view, from vehicle evaluation and performance point of view, safety point of view, materials point of view, EMI, EMC, noise, and fuel efficiency, carbon dioxide, and so on. And then we also work on technology demonstrator projects or projects of national importance. And we are also WP29 activities where we, after 10 years, the entire world will have the same norms. So we have to work on harmonization of norms. The cycles and everything has to be same worldwide. So what is this word homologation? Homologation is a word used for certifying a vehicle, and automotive vehicles are used in public places. They can cause a lot of issues like injuries, accidents, air pollution, noise pollution, or interference with the telecommunication system due to electromagnetic radiation, EMI, electromagnetic interference, and EMC, electromagnetic compatibility. So every developed country has regulatory standards on this subject, which a motor vehicle needs to comply. So this covers the requirement to be met on a new vehicle as well as an in-service vehicle. Right now we'll talk about the new vehicle, and when the first time a new vehicle or a new prototype is approved, it is called type approval. Once the type approval certificate is given, the vehicle manufacturer can pass on that certificate to various state RTOs, and the state RTOs will give them permission to sell the vehicle in that respective state through the dealers. So whenever we buy a vehicle, it goes for registration, and that time it goes to RTO for a registration number, and that time it is checked whether this vehicle is certified as per type approval or not. If the type approval certificate is not available, they will not get the registration number. Once the vehicle is certified, that particular model is certified, what is the guarantee that month and month onwards, the vehicle manufacturer reduces some costs, reduces some components, removes some component, or deteriorates the quality of those components. So for that, we have introduced COP. COP stands for conformity of production. And under conformity of production, the inspector from ARI will go to the factories where the vehicles are manufactured. They will randomly select 3 vehicles, seal them, bring them to ARI, and then test them again to find out whether the results are same as that of type approval or not. So this is called COP. So type approval is a job of R&D department of the automotive industry, and COP, conformity of production, is the job of quality control department of the manufacturing plant. So basically, COP will check the production and manufacturing tolerances, which affects vehicle emission. So there may be many things. For example, the volume of the combustion chamber in the cylinder head, or the volume of the combustion chamber on the top of the piston crown, can be very, very important. And if this volume is drastically changing, say by plus or minus 10%, then emission will also change by plus or minus 10%. And hence, whenever we meet the emission norms, the vehicle manufacturer ensures that it meets with around 30% margin. So 30% margins are kept with respect to variation in COP. Once the vehicle is sold to the customer, what is the guarantee that the customer is taking care of the vehicle? Whether he is getting regular maintenance done, whether he is keeping his tire in real required pressure, whether he is using any adulterated fuel. All this needs to be known. So there is a process called PUC, pollution under control, which once in every 6 months, we all who owns two-wheeler and four-wheeler are supposed to get it done. But PUC is nowadays not of much importance. What is important is we need to work on in-use vehicle, and there is INM lane, inspection and maintenance lane. The first inspection and maintenance lane have come up in Nasik, and now every city, every state will have inspection and maintenance lane where the vehicle will pass, and it will check for around 9 tests, which includes emission, safety, brake tests, and so on. And in case any repair is required, the RTO will get the repair done and give you the bill. So if people are not maintaining their vehicle will be taken in such areas, which we call it as an INM lane, inspection and maintenance lane, and we will have to pay for it. So if we don't want to pay for it, then we have to maintain the vehicle ourselves. So that is called in-use testing. So I hope everyone has understood what is type approval, what is conformity of production, and what is in-use testing. To take it forward, we have been adopting European norms, and our Ministry of Road Transport and Highway is the ultimate authority for administering these rules and regulations. So MORTH has formed 2 committees. One committee is called Standing Committee on Emission. It's a very, very specialized committee who understands CO, SC, NOx, PM, nanoparticles. And the other committee is called CMVR Technical Standing Committee, which deals with all other matters other than the emission. So these committees will look after the vehicle regulation, and the care is taken that our norms are such that it protects the occupants and the pedestrian. It takes care of the environment, it takes care of the energy, and it takes care of consumer comfort. And if you are able to take care of all 4 things, it's a win-win situation. So there are various types of electric vehicles running in India. Some of them are off-road vehicles, that means they are not coming on the road at all. And there are no norms for them, but other vehicles which are running on Indian roads, like two-wheeler, three-wheeler, and four-wheeler cars and buses, there are norms for them. So you will see that these are the 6-7 types, and there are different norms for different types of vehicles. So what do you expect from an electric vehicle? You expect, as per AI 039, measurement of electric energy consumption. As per AI 040, method of measuring the range, and 041, measurement of net power and maximum 30-minute power. So these are the various tests which we will now subsequently see in the next slide. So we had a subcommittee constituted before 22 years in 1999, comprising of members from ARI, VRD, ECMA, and SIAM. ARI stands for Automotive Research Association of India. VRD stands for Vehicle Research Development Establishment in Ahmednagar. ECMA stands for Automotive Component Manufacturers Association. And SIAM stands for Society of Indian Automotive Manufacturers. So these are the various bodies who represent in the committee, and obviously the ministry will ensure that people from industry are also there. So this CMVR technical committee brought the battery operated vehicle under the purview of CMVR, and they came out with automotive industry standards somewhere in 2003. And now from 2005, we have material requirement for testing and certifying every electric vehicle which is being running on Indian road. So these are about the standards and regulations. And as far as the electric vehicle standards are concerned, the regulations can be for OEM when they produce vehicle, whether it is their electric vehicle, whether it is hybrid vehicle, or whether it is fuel cell vehicle, has to be controlled by one method. And there is one more standard called AIS 123, which is more for retrofitment device, retrofitting e-kit in two-wheelers and cars. And a lot of work is being done in this. India is the only country who has initiated a retrofit electric vehicle in the form of AI standard 123. And as per this standard, we have to be more careful. So there are also standard for charging stations, which you will see in the subsequent slide. So if you look at this chart, you will find that for CMVR homologation, we have to do multiple work. For example, electric vehicles are tested as per AIS. AIS stands for Automotive Industry Standard. They are one step below SAE standards. They are one step below BIS standard, Bureau of Indian Standards. Since a lot of new norms are coming and the technology is moving so fast, government has allowed AREI to develop automotive industry standard, which will be later converted into other standards. So for battery, we have a standard called AIS 048, and we need to do a torture test on the battery. We need to do a nail penetration test on the battery. All comes under AIS 048. Then we need to work on charging systems. So AIS 138 is the main standard related to charging stations. Then for electric vehicle, we have a separate standard called AIS 102. And for retrofitment, AIS 123, part 1, 2, 2, and 3. There are some other standards also, which comes in the last column. So when we talk about standards and regulation of electric vehicle in India, any vehicle, any two-wheeler whose electric vehicle requirement is less than 250 watts can undergo this training. Sorry, I'm sorry for a break. So it says that if the power of the motor of the electric vehicle is less than 250 watts, then you don't require any electric vehicle certification from AREI. But one must take care that the power is less than 250 watt and the maximum speed is less than 25 km per hour. Even if the power is 250 watt, but the speed is more than 25 km per hour, then it needs to be certified. And it must have minimum like white reflectors on the front side, red reflector on the rear side, brakes, weight of the vehicle without battery must be less than 60 kg and so on. If the weight of the vehicle is more than 60 kg, then also it needs certification. So it does not need certification. For that also, it must take a certificate from AREI. Okay. So now I will explain you the standards related to electric vehicle. And just let me make this bigger. So these are the standards in automobile lamps, AIS 034, wheel rims, and other standards, right? And when were they implemented? So there are many notifications, and in India, we use AIS 038, 39, 40, 41, 49, and 48, and the respective standards are mentioned here. Then we have standard for electric hybrid vehicles, AIS 102. Then we have standard for electric or HEV retrofitment regulations. So for that also it is AIS 123. So there are EV charging regulations, and whether we do fast charging, slow charging, AC, DC, everything based on that, the validation is done. And based on the charging type, the references are given for the standards. So there are different types of charging system, fast charging, slow charging, and here are some types here. So whenever we talk about standards, especially for electric vehicle charger, then we must understand that it is taking care of the following: safety, scalability, saving, security, and simplicity. So we talked about government initiative, FAME 2. We talked about Ministry of Power realizing the guideline for charging infrastructure to promote safe, reliable, accessible, and affordable charging infrastructure and ecosystem. So the charging stations can be fast or slow. If it is fast, there could be some effect on the life of the batteries. So it's better to do in a slow and moderate condition. Depends on how much time is available with you. So these are the such charging stations are already developed at ARAI and are available for technology transfer. So this is a DC charging system. And this is the simulator. And then this is the AC charger. Yeah. So safety is one of the most important criteria when you test an electric vehicle. We do a water wedding test to find out whether there is any short circuit when it is moving on water. We do the test in a semi-anechoic chamber where we can test the noise. We also have a crash test facility where a special attention must be done for electric vehicle. And so these are all our circle of safety, and we are taken care because of that. So last year, ARAI has inaugurated a Center of Excellence on e-mobility or Center of Excellence on green mobility. And here we have all the facilities required to test and certify electric vehicle, and similarly to do research and development of electric vehicle. So it's a combination of both which has made this happen. So this is about ARAI Center of Excellence on e-mobility. And then with this, I finish the standards, and now I will talk about skill development. We have 25 minutes left, and I have around 10 slides, and then maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then we have another 15 minutes for the question and answer session. Okay. So this disruptive technology or the disruptive trends like electric vehicle, electric hybrid vehicle, autonomous vehicle, connected vehicle, these are disruptive trends. This is going to transform the automotive industry. People who are redundant, people who does not know anything about electric vehicle will not survive. So they have to understand what is electric vehicle and get trained themselves. So in today's scenario, the immediate next question is the industry ready to cope up with this change with respect to workforce competency? So the workforce is not competent to work on electric vehicle, but if the vehicle manufacturer decides to produce electric vehicle, then in peripheral, he will require a lot of people who understand this. So it is said that all the vehicle manufacturers and other manufacturers have decided to spend 26.2 billion rupees on upskilling in 2020 to attract and keep workers. So ASDC, Automotive Skill Development Council, is the council which looks after the training of people or grooming people for the automotive industry. So if you look at the EV sector for skill development, we require entirely new skills like working on simulation, or we need to reskill from the automotive sector. So if somebody is working in one department, I am working in this department, we can also change and do a water system. And new skill for other sectors other than auto. And skill replace or removed from auto sector. So there may be some skill which may not be required that needs to be removed. So these are the key skill sets for all those who study electric vehicle. We'll take you there. Fine. So in short, everyone has understood that we need to do reskilling. People who are expert in engine and emission needs to learn electric vehicle and so on. So the market research shows that reskilling is the most preferred strategy for organization to bridge skill gaps. So reskilling offers have seen an improvement in employee satisfaction, retention, and customer experience levels, and ultimately increase profits. So then I am at the end of this presentation, and my question is, so what do we do? How do we address the fast rising demand for talents in specific new niche areas in the automotive industry in order to cater to the workforce of the future? So this workforce, today's workers or the workforce are demanding and they understand everything, but they are very poor in implementation. So what do we do? So for example, VW Group has decided to spend 73 billion euros on future technology in the next 5 years. MG Motors have partnered with ASDC to provide skilled manpower to the automobile industry. Volkswagen has started 73 training program, faculty training program for IT specialists. So these are some of the new areas. As far as SA India is concerned, we have initiated an event called eBaha, Electric Baha, and this event is going on from 2015. And I remember we had gone to meet Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam to invite him as a chief guest. And he said, I would come as a chief guest only when you do something different, like electric vehicle or alternate fuel vehicle competition. And we said, yes, we'll work on it. It came back. We discussed with Dr. Pawan Goenka, our mentor, and he said, yes, you must work on this. And that's how we started working in this area also. Unfortunately, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam was not able to be the chief guest because he expired in 2015 itself. So from 2015, we have been doing this eBaha event. Right. So as I told you, through Ministry of Heavy Industry and Public Enterprise, ARI is working on various EV awareness program and to help the academia. So these are some of the institutes where we have done around 25 institutes by now. We must have trained on electric vehicle awareness program. So there are various courses on electric mobility, 1 year post-graduate diploma in electric mobility, 1 year post-graduate diploma in electric and autonomous vehicle, MTech course in electric vehicle, and so on. So ARI is, and especially ARI Academy is available for the faculty fraternity in case they need any help in developing their syllabus or reviewing their syllabus related to electric vehicle or IC engine vehicle. So we conduct a lot of training program, and by now we have conducted more than 25 training program in couple of months. And anyone can attend this PIP, Proficiency Improvement Program, or a training program. I talked to you about ASDC, Automotive Skill Development Council. So we are developing QPs, qualification pack for them. So whether he is an electric vehicle lead technician, electric vehicle product design, electric vehicle test technicians, quality lead inspector, and so on. So 10 qualification packs are there. So by the time student passes his bachelor degree, that is BTech or MTech, parallelly he or she can do this course also to improve the confidence level. As far as PIPs are concerned, some more PIPs are added here. So in conclusion, I would like to say that we have been used to use conventional vehicle technology like gasoline and diesel for getting higher efficiency. And then we started improving on the fuel, like boost the octane number of the fuel. And so effective use of conventional fuel were also decided. And then the next decision was on alternate fuels, and different types of alternate fuels like CNG, LPG, ethanol, methanol needs to be checked, and there has to be diversity. The next step is electric vehicle and then hybrid vehicle. So electric vehicle and hybrid vehicle will come hand in hand together and after certain future, one can think of hydrogen as a fuel. So hydrogen technology also can be discussed. So this is what is the road to sustainability, and everyone must try to move towards it. So that's all from my side. So it is now 11:15. So let us all work together in this electric mobility mission plan and skill development, and let industry, academia join hands together and help the student to become more employable from day one. My email ID is here. In case you have any question, please feel free, ora.pg@ariindia.com. However, right now you can ask question, you can unmute and ask question, or you can chat, put it in the chat box. And I will take help of Vijay sir to understand what are the questions and answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the nice presentation. I'm able to hear. Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir, for the nice presentation. And it's nice to see that ARI is working very nicely for soft skill developments. And the new evaluation, that is the electric mobility and the electric vehicle. I request to the all professors and the research scholar, if any query, please ask to Ora sir. Unmute yourself and ask. This is the nice platform to meet Professor Ora sir.
Yes, you can ask question. You can put it in the chat box. Vijay sir, just keep an eye on the chat box. If there are some question, you can just let me know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Sanika madam.
I'm Sarika. Actually, I have one question regarding car batteries.
Yes.
Do we have any policies for disposal of these car batteries, sir?
Yes. We are working on the policies. So there are norms. When we design a vehicle, we have to work on recycling, and henceforth, whenever we design our vehicle from environment point of view, we have to work on it. This is one area. But this is not a standard. Most of the vehicle manufacturers started understanding. Today also, when you are buying a lead acid battery, you have to give your old lead acid battery, and there is an incentive. You get some money back. And hence, everyone is tempted to return the old battery and take a new battery, so the cost reduces. Similarly, in future, whenever you want to buy a new lithium-ion battery, you will have to give away your old lithium-ion battery, and they will reduce some money and give you a new battery, because all this lithium-ion battery has lithium in it, and lithium can be recycled. So recycling is another area where a lot of research is being done. Use of different types of battery material is another research area where we have tied up with ISRO and National Chemical Laboratory to find out battery material which are cheaper and which are cost effective, and also which has a good efficiency.
Okay.
These norms are being worked out. Still, they have not been declared, but we are working on it.
Hello, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Myself, Pawan Chaudhary. I have a question regarding the retrofitted vehicles.
Yes.
In the retrofitted vehicles, all the legal terms, that is, if suppose the retrofitted vehicle is fitted with the ARI approved kit, insurance and all the legal aspects are applicable to the vehicles or not?
Yes, they are applicable. So provided it is certified. So as on today, ARI is certified around 5-6 retrofit kits, and a lot of people are working. Most of them are startups who are working in this area to ensure that these are certified. Do you remember when we initiated LPG and CNG kits and retrofitment of LPG and CNG? We had some problem. There used to be fire in the bus and cars because people were using spurious items. They were not using the right one. But now, with this, with our experience in LPG, CNG, we have already a retrofit standard. India is the only country in the world who has retrofitment, electric vehicle or EV retrofitment standard worldwide. And we have to be very careful when we retrofit. That means we have to give it to a garage. It must have a certified kit. And when I say kit, it requires lithium-ion battery, the motor, the power electronics, and the battery management system. All four together will constitute the kit, and that has to be fitted on the vehicle after removing the engine. I hope that answers your question, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
And for that, you must read
Hello?
AIS 123. Automotive, yeah, 1 second. For that, you must read AIS 123, Automotive Industry Standard. If you need Automotive Industry Standard, just request Vijay sir. I can email him the AIS 123 standard.
Okay. Fine. Thank you, sir.
Yep. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, this is Ganesh Gawande.
Yes.
So, aren't we facing the major challenge of natural lithium ore reserve, as South America and even North America has the largest lithium reserve in the world, and we have to depend upon them to import lithium to produce the batteries. So, what exactly we can do in that area to produce powerful batteries that too at a low cost? Even our neighbor China has a vast resource of lithium available, but the relation that we carry with them doesn't seem to be happening for us in the future. In our country also, we only got this reserve in, I think, 2 states close to China, close to Karnataka. So what exactly we can do in that area?
Correct. So our NITI Aayog has done extensive study on usage of lithium in lithium-ion battery in the new batteries. And up till now, we were importing lithium-ion batteries from China. And when we were not comfortable, we shifted to Korea and other countries. And recently, our government has signed MOU with Bolivia and Argentina. So we will be buying our lithium reserves from Bolivia and Argentina. Yes, we have certain reserves near Gujarat and near Karnataka. They are not in abundant quantity. Probably we were caught sleeping in this area when we took a decision that to get rid of our dependency on crude petroleum with the OPEC countries, we decided to use electric vehicle, but then we are dependent on lithium reserves. And hence, I am very sure that this lithium coming from Bolivia and Argentina will help us to improve our supply chain. Today, there is a big problem of batteries and other components which we are buying from China. So after the pandemic, when the mass production is restarted for electric vehicle, there are problems of receipt of motors, batteries, and everything. We are solving that problem. And I think that is one good way of understanding how we can indigenize our products and components and become self-sufficient. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. There is one question in text box from Dr. Mahesh Shelar, Professor Dr. Mahesh Shelar, whether ARAI has done net emission analysis for electric vehicle charge from fossil fuel electricity. If not, can you point some studies?
No, so as I told you, at different forum, we keep on presenting paper on the research work done. This cannot be a part of certification, but in different bits and pieces, research has been done. There is no detailed testing done. But as I told you, we are not interested in understanding how well-to-wheel emissions are happening. We are interested in using renewable sources like solar energy and wind energy for this. If you just go to net and find out what Indian government is doing on this, you'll be surprised that we are, within a year, we will become self-sustained in terms of electricity generation for solar, through solar energy and wind energy. We are now talking about offshore. That means the wind energy, the windmills will be also put in the ocean, and offshore also we will be able to generate electricity and use it for purpose, not only for electric vehicle charging, but also for sending the electricity in the villages. And for there are many applications of electricity which will be able to harness offshore. But I am not aware of a very detailed study done by ARAI.
Okay, sir. I hope Professor Dr. Mahesh Shelar has got answer.
Thank you.
Sir, actually, I have one.
Sir, I have one question.
Okay, okay. Please ask. Shetty sir, please ask first.
Yeah. Hi, sir. I want to ask related to the range certification that AI does. So for Nexon EV, the range is 312 that is certified by ARAI. But this is not the real world range that we get. So why don't we, means ARAI get into the real range instead of having some standard set?
See, whenever we have to certify any vehicle, there has to be a set standard, there has to be a set driving cycle. And whenever we want to compare apple to apple, there has to be standard. So say, let us imagine that you and your children will go to McDonald's, Pizza Hut, and if you eat pizza every day, will your health get deteriorated? Yes. But you will not say that. You will say, I eat every day chapati, rice, sabji, and dal, right? So similarly, for standardization purpose, we have to use certain cycles, and we can give you that range. So whether it is an IC engine where we say that this vehicle gives 25 kilometers per liter, but it depends on how you drive the vehicle. Just give me a minute.
Sir.
जरा मैं फोन तो जगह सांग मीटिंग मध्ये लेक्चर मध्ये. So similarly, we have to use a set standard when I compare with each other. So whatever vehicles we test, we will do as per that standard cycle only. If somebody wants to do a study, it is very much variable. Suppose when you run it on the road, there is rain, there is wind, there is traffic, somebody is crossing the road, the drivers are different. So there will be so much variation that we will not be able to certify. Our aim is only to use a standard method, which is common for all, right? And that's why we do this test.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, there are many magazines who take vehicles, test it, and then they report, right? But I think they also report very positively. I see very negative reports about this. But a vehicle which gives a range of say 300 kilometer electric vehicle, in actual practice may give a range of 200 also. It depends on how you charge them. It depends on how you use them. So it's very difficult to say that. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Shetty sir wanted to ask some question, or Shinde sir wanted to ask some question, or Vijay sir, you wanted to ask some question. Sir, I'm not able to hear.
Vijay sir, your mic is muted.
Yes, sir. My mic was muted. Sir, yeah, actually is not my question, just a request. Here most of the professors are there and the research scholar. So so before 1 year, what I have seen, to work in the alternative fuel, there are some kind of research funding from the central government and also some institute I have seen.
Yes.
Like that, if the electric vehicles have some research funding from the various institute or the from central government, so please let them us.
Yeah, so Department of Science and Technology funds a lot of research projects. AICT also funds a lot of research projects. So you can contact DST and AICT and you can get a lot of funding.
Okay.
So many colleges and universities put up their proposal, and ARI can be a partner, especially the ARI Academy can be a partner for such research projects, and we'll be very happy to help you to get such funding.
Yes, thank you, sir. Any professors wanted to ask some question or queries? Okay.
Good. So we have completed on time before 3 minutes.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So thank you all the professors, all the research scholar, and thank you very much, Dr. Ora sir, for nice presentation and your experience and the knowledge that share with us. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Namaste to all of you.
Namaste.
I'll take my leave now.
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So the next session is at 11:45. We can take 15-minute break. After that, the session is from Mr. Abhishek Tapkire, who is a senior scientist at Vehicle Research Development Established DRDO Ahmednagar. So we meet at 11:45. Please accept the link that I have sent through the email of WhatsApp. And if those still did not done the registration, please do that. Okay, sir.
Hello,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Good
Sir, I had registered with Yahoo mail ID in
Okay.
Atal, but I am joining this with my Gmail ID, sir. So, will there be any problem?
No, have you registered by that link yesterday?
Yesterday, there was any link, sir. Sir, yesterday I have joined both of the sessions by Gmail ID, sir. But I have registered via AICTE portal, and in the very beginning, when I sent you that registration, that was from my Yahoo ID.